Right, okay. Rian Murphy-Fairclough drew some cards the other day, some tarot cards, 6, and he placed them in the form of a pentagram, and it seems as though it's to do with a relationship type reading. He sent me the positions of the spread, so I'm a bit new to this myself at the moment. So basically, I've just labelled this as some sort of relationship reading analysis, really, as opposed to reading itself. Well, it is a reading, but it's something that Ryan's doing himself, isn't it, Ryan? So what we'll do for you there is I'll just take a look at the notes that you provided, and the first card, this card represents you. It signifies what you currently feel about your relationship, your approach and your outlook. So I suppose really it's a bit like the crowning card in the Celtic spread, isn't it? I've just laid them in a row here, but I've also placed them. Certain cards were the right way up, as you'd say, and other cards were inverted. So I've placed the ones that were inverted in inverted. I don't normally read inverted, but we'll see what we can do with it. So the first card is in that sort of position. The question was, you wanted to know what your angel, your guides or guardian angel or something was saying to you there, or what your guides were trying to tell you. So I'd assume it was about a relationship, basically. The first card you drew was, so it looks as though you drew the 7 of Wands. And I'll just show you the 7 of Wands in my deck here that I use. There, the Crow's Magic Tarot by Londa Marks. And that's, notice there we've got the spirit of the raccoon that, of course, gives you the resources to see anything through. 7 is weakness. Any number between 4 and 9, numbers 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9, they are to do with the element of water. And of course, Wands is to do with the element of fire, isn't it? So you could say it's the watery part of fire. Water is mental and moral qualities, and fire is spiritual essence. So in that case, it's mental and moral qualities of spiritual essence. It falls in that sort of category, doesn't it? Your approach towards this relationship is more, because 7 is a weakness. 7 is weakness, isn't it? You've got the loss of the 5, the analysis of the 6, the weakness of the 7, the challenge of the 8 to that weakness, and then the peak of the 9, and then the turnaround at 10 or whatever. Like the blues, isn't it? But you've got, in this particular case, 7 of Wands is often referred to, Crowley refers to the 7 of Wands as the Lord of Valour. In the sense you're putting on a jolly good show under the prevailing circumstances. Because it's representing your approach, and I suppose you could say it's your approach in a way, isn't it? this represents you. It signifies what you currently feel about your relationship. It seems as though you feel as though you just it's a game of endurance. The energy is weak, but it's endurance, and Raccoon is there to give you the resources to see it through. You're aiming for progress, but that's about it. You feel as though you're sort of riding it out like a storm. If you see what I mean, you take the meaning of the card and then you link it to what you've put here. So I've actually made a note of this spread because I might try and memorise it, and we can have a go at it when we have relationship questions. We can try and use this one, can't we? And if I can try and remember it, of course. The more you use it, of course, the more it'll stick, I suppose. But I don't usually read inverted, but the next card is inverted, isn't it? And that's the two of cups. That's what it's like the right way up in my deck there. If you can see that. But of course, we've just had to turn it over the other way, of course. And this particular card number 2, the second card represents your partner. So the first card represents you, and the second card represents your partner. It also represents his, I suppose in the case here, her emotions towards you. So the first one is yours towards them, and the second one is theirs towards you. So it's his and yours, I suppose. And that sort of pentagram sort of layout, it would work to some degree, wouldn't it? In that way, with the two at the bottom, M and her, and so on, and whatever. But we'll just see what we can do with this. It represents that. So there, and of course, their attitude and expectations about your relationship. So basically, you feel as though you're riding it out, a bit like a storm, and the raccoon, that spirit of Raccoon there, is helping that soul part that's finding it hard to find the resources there to give you that resource, that emotional resource maybe, and so on. Now, the next card, of course, is the Two of Cups, so that represents their emotions towards you. Now, the Two of Cups, Crowley calls that the Lord of Love. This focuses on the partnership and the nexus. So very much, for as much as you might perceive this as a bit like a storm to ride out, your partner's approach, as you could say, is more of actually they seem to be more devoted to you than you are to them. Maybe, I suppose, with those two there in the way that they are, although it's an inverted card, isn't it? So maybe because it's inverted, it isn't love. It's a delayed love. It's a maybe it's a. I mean, because I forgot about that. I don't normally read inverted normally, but this one is inverted, isn't it, Ryan? So yes, it would indicate maybe the feelings are mutual, and there's been a loss of love, and they feel as though there's love lost, literally. So I nearly got that wrong, didn't I? It's a good job, isn't it? So you're riding out the storm and trying to get the resources to keep it together, and they just feel as though there's love lost. between you, if you get what I mean. So now we know what both of you are thinking. What's the next card? Well, the next card is inverted also, and that's the Ace of Cups. That's to do with strong feelings, isn't it, and strong emotions, rapture and ecstasy and whatever. But that's also inverted. Let's see what that third position represents. Of course, this is like the one in the middle, or as you've placed it anyway. Although it seems as though it's like 1, 2 at the bottom, 3, 4, 5 in the middle, and then 2 at the top, or 1 at the top. I don't know what's going on there. That seems to be the. Oh yes, 1, 2 at the top. It's like an inverted pentagram when you look at the diagram that you've given me here, with just like the black layout. 1, 2 at the top from left to right, then 3, 4, 5 left to right underneath, and then number 6 at the bottom there. So it's like you, them. Let's see what number 3 is then, if I follow that sort of line. So number 3 is, of course, you've got the Ace of Cups. Let's just see what the position represents. This is a connection card. So I suppose really the way you've laid it out would sort of, with it being you're sort of placing it above in the middle, he would be sort of like connecting them together, wouldn't he? Should theoretically be in between those two, shouldn't it, really? This is a connection card. What are the characteristics that you have in common, binding you together? So I suppose, yeah, I mean, I'm trying to learn myself here on the bloody job, you know. It's like Busman's bloody holiday, this, isn't it? So it's like you, them, or the questioner's partner, and then the connection between the two. You, them, and both together, the connection between the two. Theoretically, you could sort of place it sort of like this, couldn't you, or something like that. I might sort of try and work a sort of something like that, like in the way, similar way how you've done it, you know, how you've laid them out, to make sort of sense out of it. How did you just see how you laid them out in the picture there. Yes, that's it. Well, you did it left. You did it from right to left, but going round in like a sort of circle sort of thing there. But going right to left instead. But same thing there. You, them, and then the connection card number 3 above. And yes, that's really, because it's like as if it's linking both the two together, isn't it? So you can make sense of that, can't you? And that's, of course, that's the Ace of Cups, isn't it? And the Ace of Cups, well, yes, there's a lack of ecstasy, a lack of rapture, a lack of joy even, love lost between you. So the love lost between you, the connection, is if she's broken the connection, because the love has been lost on her side, she's broken the connection. Or the connection that's broken, the love connection or the feelings that are broken are on her side, and you're sort of riding out the storm. That's what I'm sort of getting. I don't know if you're getting that, Ryan, but now number 4, of course, you've placed like above that, haven't you? And then number 5 to the other side, and then number 6 at the top. So yours is like a pentagram the right way up, isn't it? Whereas the other one is the pentagram, the inverted pentagram. So the connection card doesn't quite work with the 1 and the 2, does it? You'd think it to be the 1 in the middle or something like that, wouldn't you? In the same similar sort. I'd do it the way you did it here there, Ryan, in the sense I'd put it in the middle. Because it's like, it's between the two then, isn't it? Like a triangle or something. So yes, I would actually do it the way you've done it. So we've worked out roughly what this is about so far here, haven't we? In the sense you're riding out the storm, it's a case of endurance, it's just more to do with endurance, trying to get progress, trying to ride out the storm, trying to find resources, maybe emotional resources as well, and trying to find energy. And yet, on her side, she sort of feels as though love is lost, and then the connection between both of you there, the Ace of Cups, also inverted there with the Two of Cups on her side, but you can sort of see the connection that's broken down, or the feelings that are lost, the love that is lost, is on her side, and you're just the one riding it out. It's as if she's lost feelings for you as opposed to the other way around, if you get what I want. It's her fault, if you see what I mean. It's not really anybody's fault. Sometimes people are compatible or not really, but you know what I mean if we say that. Now let's then move on to the next number 4, card number 4. Now that's the right way up, isn't it? That's and that's the Queen of Swords. That is. That's the watery part of her mental and moral qualities of creative and transmissive powers, in the sense of the Queen of Swords is more of an elusive sort of kind of from an emotional point of view. Now bearing that fact in mind, let's see what card number 4, the possession, is. This indicates the strength of your relationship. What are the qualities that keep your relationship? So to suppose the one that was, now this is I think this is where I found it a bit confusing myself, where this is the connection between you, connection between you, and then this one is the strengths that hold you together. For as much as there is a weakness that pulls you apart, you could say the strength is the fact that you remain sort of I suppose, let me just hang on, I'll just have to put me on the reading glasses then. No, I wasn't prepared for that then. That's a bit better. I can see now. It seems as though you're sort of having to keep a low profile. The strength of the relationship is the fact that you can keep quiet. And if you can keep quiet, it doesn't mean somebody opens the mouth and starts an argument. But of course, in that sense, that strength is a weakness, isn't it? Because it means that there's love lost, feelings are lost, because nobody's communicating with one another. So I suppose, I mean, you can't say the connection one is the weakness and that's the strength. In this particular scenario it is, but why they've got a connection card and then the strength that holds you together, I don't know. I just don't get those two. It seems as if they're both the same card. Personally, in this particular case, I would call that possession the weakness. The connection card is the weakness, and then of course the number 4 is the strength. That's what I do with it. But of course, in the inverted pentagram, it doesn't work. But in your layout, of course, the connection. Yeah. So that's the strength. Let's just see what number 5 is. I don't know. Let me just see what number 5 is, because I could be wrong. Let's just move on just to see what position number 5 is first. You've got the 6 of Wands there, but let's just see what is here. Position number 5 is position number 5 denotes the weakness. Oh, there, the weakness. Of course, I've just bloody noticed. So that's the strength. That's the weakness. Here we bloody go. I'm jumping the gun here. This denotes the weakness of your relationship? What are the things you both need to improve? So that's a bit like a guidance type thing, isn't it? That's the strength and that's the weakness. That's you, that's her, that's the connection that you've got between you, which isn't much at the minute. But the strength you've got, the weakness you've got, and then you can work on the strength to relieve the weakness. Just say that right then. It denotes the strength. 4 strength, 5. So it's you, connection, strength, weakness, and then number 5 is this denotes the weakness. Strength on you, connection, strength, weakness. Number 5 is weakness. Yeah, this denotes the weakness. Number 6 denotes. I'm just going to go straight through, just so I can see what that is there. Let me just. It's just we're learning on the bloody job here. It's a buzzman's holiday, I swear, I tell you. So you'll just have to bear with me, I'm afraid, Ryan. It's just a pain in the arse. So number 6 then. This final card is your true love card. It interprets what needs to be addressed. Oh, so that's like a guidance thing, isn't it? A bit like the forenoons, isn't it? In the rooms or whatever. I sometimes do that with the cards as well. But anyway, this is your true love card. It interprets what needs to be addressed. I suppose that's the issues. Is your relationship going to be successful? If there is a threat, what must be done? Tra la 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 la. So that's, yeah. Okay, so what can I remember from that, just without looking at that now? So it's you, we've sort of half done the reading, haven't we, in a way? I'm just trying to remember the possessions. I'm just doing it in a row, but of course we could work out the spread, couldn't we? You, connection, strength, weakness, what needs to be done about it. Guidance, you could call that, couldn't you, I suppose? So you, strength, weakness, these two here, and then so you, connection, and then strength, weakness, and then that sort of last one there, isn't it? It's sort of like you see there, personally, I'd put like that connection one between those two. You see what I mean? And have that like as a middle sort of thing there. But of course you've got to deal those two first, haven't you? And you could sort of place it across or something like that, couldn't you? Or underneath it or above it. So you could sort of like make a triangle like there, and then sort of have like some sort of layout like that, couldn't you? So we'll just in a row. We'll just do these 3. I'll do the 3 because it's with you. You're doing the two at the bottom, the middle one, which is this one here, which I'll just place next to that, which is the connection between those two, and then of course the other 2, and then the one on top, isn't it? That's the one on top. So let's go through it again then, because I've gone through all the cards. So now we sort of know what it is. You, the connection between both of you, the strength, the weakness, and then what needs to be done to sort out the bloody weakness and sort out what's going on here. I suppose this is where really these inverted cards come in, isn't it, Ryan? Because the inverted cards can indicate if there's a weakness where the strength is, or if where the strength is, it can be a weakness as well. I don't know. Go from the beginning then. Now I'm trying to remember on the fucking job here. This is I tell you, Buzzman's holiday job here. you, connection between both of you, and strength, weakness, and what needs to be done about it. That's basically how I'm viewing it. That's how I'm looking at it. So we've got we've gone through this fact that your approach, her approach, the connection between both of you, and then the strength that you've got, the weakness that you've got between you, and then what needs to be done. Right. So your approach basically is you're riding it out like a bloody storm. Her approach is she's just lost love. She doesn't feel as though there's partnership there anymore. And because of that, the connection between both of you means that love is literally lost. The Ace of Cups inverted. So that sort of shows that the connection sort of isn't there from a love point of view, or feelings of love. I wouldn't actually say it's lost. Let's see what else now. So the strength of it is, though, although there's been love lost, the connection between you has been lost. From a relationship point of view, more on her side than yours, you're sort of riding out this storm that she's sort of lost feelings, whatever. The sort of is that the bloody strength or the weakness? 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me just check what number 4 is. This represents the strength, right? Strength, weakness. So the strength is the fact that you are elusive, and the fact that you keep a low profile. The Queen of Swords as somebody who keeps her feelings to herself and doesn't communicate much. So maybe in this case a lack of communication is the strength. And if a lack of communication is the strength between which is linked to the connection, then of course feelings will be lost, won't they? So that makes sense, doesn't it, really, Ryan? That's maybe what your guardians are trying to tell you there. Of course, the weakness of your relationship. What are the things you both need to improve? Well, the weakness is well, it's the right way up, isn't it? This is why I don't like reading inverted cards. We'll play the game, as you would say. The 6 of Wands is fire, as we know, and 6 is analysis, isn't it? Because it's the loss of the 5, 6 of the analysis of the 6, weakness of the 7, as we got over here, and so on. Mental and moral qualities of spiritual essence, in the sense of Crowley calls the 6 of Wands the Lord of Victory. In the sense, the strength is you don't talk, so there's no opportunity to have an argument. You're both keeping away from one another, which, although that may sound counterproductive, it could be the very thing that may be holding you together, although there's no feeling there, if you get what I mean. But the Lord of Victory here, the victor, is the weakness. So basically you could say, well, you're having trouble winning her over, or you're having trouble, not winning an argument, but certainly having trouble having triumph over adversity, you could say, couldn't you? You'd think that should be inverted, really, theoretically. You'd deliberately place it inverted, wouldn't you, or something like that, so to be, you know, it sort of represents that. But that's neither here nor there. That's why you just best leave them all the right way up, aren't you? Just if you know, you know. So really, yeah, you're riding out the storm. She don't feel as if there's a partnership there, because the connection between you has been lost from a feelings point of view. There's no ecstasy there anymore. There's no rapture there between you anymore. And of course, but nevertheless, the strength, although that links to the weakness, where you don't feel as though you're winning anymore. You're not sort of winning triumph over adversity. The adversity, I suppose, are the issues that are coming up all the time. You don't feel as though you can win. everything I say, maybe you feel as though everything I say I just can't convince them, or just don't listen, or what have you. But the strength is the fact that you keep your mouth shut about it, so you don't say, look, you're not bloody saying if you spoke more, which is what you should say really, but it's the fact that maybe you're keeping your gob shut, as you would say, is your saving grace. Because for as much as you're not communicating and trying to put things right, as we've established, you're also not sort of stirring the shit, as you would say. But the weakness is, of course, it doesn't mean it means that you're not going to win anything. You're not going to win out, are you? You're not going to win out on whatever it is you're trying to achieve, whatever progress you're seeking there. Notice there the progress. See the link there. The progress that you are seeking on your side. Your approach is to seek progress. You're not going to get that progress and win that progress because of the weakness of. I suppose you could say that overshadows it. That's the obstacle, isn't it? A bit like in the Celtic spread when you place the second card over as the obstacle. You could say that's the present obstacle, the weakness or the obstacle that you're trying. It's as if it overshadows it. Oh no, that's the strength, isn't it? You do it the other way around. Sorry, you put the weakness over that. So you like as if the weakness overshadows the strength. The strength is you don't talk. Silence is golden, I suppose, but the weakness is the obstacle. I suppose the weakness, you could class it as that, an obstacle. It overshadows it. You could place it like that, couldn't you? I suppose I'd do that actually, because that you can there's a sort of familiarity with that and the sort of 10-card Celtic spread, isn't there? It's a sort of Celtic spreadish sort of spread, isn't it? There looks good, doesn't it? We've just designed a new spread there, or we've just mucked around with it. But of course, I'd put it in that pentagram formation. Actually, that pentagram formation you've laid out is actually, I would say, the better way of doing it. Actually, with the connection in the middle, strength one side, weakness the other, and then the outcome or what should be done. So I just placed that across just temporarily, just to say the thing that overshadows it is the fact that you're having trouble winning out. The weakness there, the strength. Although the strength is you're being elusive, you're not, you're not talking much. Nevertheless, the weakness is it's creating the barrier. The barrier is you can't win the progress that you're trying to get from it. If you get what I mean. So I'll just place that next to it again, just so we got it in that row again, just so you know. But yeah, that looks okay, that, doesn't it? The final card is what can you do about this to sort all this out? Well, that's inverted, isn't it? And that's judgment. That's of course that's the correct way it goes there. So that's judgment, but of course it's inverted. So maybe, although from a sort of positive perspective, it's I don't know, opening doors or whatever, introspection, and it's awakening up to, just waking up to the truth. Maybe from a diabolical point of view, it's waking up to the truth that this is not going to go anywhere. Maybe not so much judgment on it, but it's the judgment in the sense normally it's the day of judgment, and those who are naked before the Lord have nothing to hide, but those who wear the garments around their waist are embarrassed. And the ones, of course, who come out the graves, the ones who feel sort of embarrassed, they will be revealed for what they are, won't they? But for others, the ones who aren't guilty, it's a revival for them because they weren't guilty in the first place. But of course, in this particular scenario, it's inverted. And I suppose we've only really got to go with the judgment, the interpretation of the energy, haven't we, there, in that sense, really, Ryan. We've got to just bear in mind that you're riding it out like a storm. She doesn't feel as though there's partnership there anymore because feelings have been lost in some way, but more on her side than yours. But I would say because of the cups element there, the feelings element is more on her side that have been lost, and she's the one who sort of broke the connection, or she's the one breaking the connection, or she's the one with the weaker part of the connection between both of you. The strength is you don't say anything, so you don't cause any trouble neither. But the weakness, of course, that overshadows the strength, the obstacle, I suppose you could call that, is of course you're having trouble literally getting a victory. Although you're seeking a victory, your approach is to sort of get progress on this situation, and nevertheless endure and a bit of fortitude at the same time. Just ride it out, but try and get something positive coming out of this. The problem is you can't, because the victory is overshadowing the problem. Is you're having a problem getting what you want because the strength, your silence is too strong. Your strength is that strong. You're not talking or whatever, are you? So your strength is like that strong. You can't get the victory that you want from it, and of course that will be sort of impacting in an inverted sort of way from a judgmental sort of, or from a judgment point of view, in the sense of, instead of it being an awakening, yes, it will be an awakening, but it'll be an awakening to maybe the truth that this isn't going to end up very nice. If you get what I mean, it's not. It doesn't look good, Ryan. And of course, is it a revival for you, or is it, or is it you are discovered naked before the Lord and you are found guilty for, you know? It's not going to be a revival, is it? Love has been lost here, in the looks of it, Ryan. Although the strength is you keep your mouth shut. In a sense, you hold your counsel. Although this is being elusive, it's been mythical, it's trying to put on a persona to try and not give too much away and all that sort of thing. Nevertheless, the strength is you're sort of keeping a low profile too much, and it's too strong, and the weakness, I suppose, is literally overshadowing that, which is in effect of the strength, but it's been made weak. I would actually say that would be your goal, wouldn't it? That would be what you're aiming for. Victory in some way, shape or form. Although of course there are no winners, and there are no winners in these sort of situations, are there? But what can you do about it to improve it? This card, this final card here, really is guidance upon what you should do to improve it. Now, if it's inverted, of course, maybe it's saying, other than acknowledge that no, you're not guilty and it's a revival and everything's okay, whatever, because it's inverted, maybe it's a case of, other than normally becoming awakened to, you know, it's going to all blow over, so let's just all grow up and get on with it. Maybe this is just a case where you just got to face the facts, and you've got to become awakened to the negativity that's between you, the feelings, the thing, the connection between you. There's no ecstasy there. When it says like no ecstasy, no rapture, I'm sort of focusing here, I'm sort of sensing more of a physical nature. There's nothing physical going on between you. and she's lost feelings for you and you're riding out the storm. It's more a relationship based upon that. And keeping quiet about it and holding your counsel so there's no arguments about it, it doesn't mean you don't end up talking about it. And of course then you can't get the victory that you're after. The victory that you're after becomes becomes an obstacle. It virtually becomes a problem that you've got to try and overcome. And the only way you can overcome that, as you would say, if I've placed across there temporarily again, the only way you can sort of like overcome that obstacle is to face the dark side of it. Become awakened to the negativity of it, to the energy that's inverted. What is it that's pulling you apart? Yes, it's alright saying, I suppose you could sort of say, what first of all, think of 3 things that I like about this relationship. And then of course this card reminds you to think of 3 things you don't like about it. And then theoretically the therapy says, well, the 3 things that you like about it will override those 3 things that you don't like. And will help you get the victory that the problem there, help you overcome that which is overshadowing the strength. The weakness that's overshadowing the strength there, if you see what I mean. That's how I'm looking at it, that's how I'm viewing it. I could be wrong. I could be totally bloody wrong, but that's how I'm sort of trying to find the connection with this thing you've given me here, from this analysis sort of point of view. You've just really got to go to what do you call it, the dark night of the soul, as it's something, or what do they call it, Ryan? You've just got to go to that place and just face up to it. And ask yourself some soul-searching questions. What is it? If it's a physical thing, is it a physical thing? Or is she too demanding? I don't know what the crack is here. But we're assuming that you're in a relationship, of course. This reading assumes that you're in a relationship and what you can do about it. And the only thing you can do about it, Ryan, is to literally enter into the darkness. And try and, instead of on the day of judgment all are naked before the Lord and all are found out, maybe you can hasten that and strip yourself naked now. And sort yourself out before the day of judgment comes, and so you're ready, so you can be, I suppose you could call it repentance, couldn't you? A form of repentance, in the sense of it's time to sort of, not so much beat yourself up, but certainly cast judgment upon you and her. Find out what's wrong. The moon there, notice the moon, which is introspection. So of course, what have we been doing? Or in the sense, what haven't we been doing? What have we been doing negatively? You've lost feelings for me. Why? I feel as though I'm riding out a storm. There's nothing physically going on between us. But what is that? The strength is between us, though at least we can hold our counsel and not argue about it. That's the strength. We can hold our counsel and be elusive and hide away from one another, and not so much sulk, but we can sort of, so it doesn't spark any strife or anything like that. But of course, by doing that, the weakness is the strength that we really need, which is the victory to overcome this. And the victor is there, and the victor is an actual weakness. It's over, sort of, the success or the achievement you're after is actually becoming an obstacle for you, because you can't get that obstacle. What obstacle's that? Well, to get the connection back. And I'm sort of getting like to get the connection back. And for that you need to talk, but you're not talking because your strength is avoiding arguments. Instead of avoiding arguments, why don't you try to encourage dialogue? Yes, it might have to be negative dialogue. You might have to say, well, you know, this, that, the other, I don't, it's just this about you, that about you. Tell each other, you know, 3 things you don't like about each other, and then tell each other 3 things you like about each other. And then see what we can do there. Well, you know, I don't like whatever, or you snore, or I don't know what it is. But whatever this is between you, you've got to get this sorted out, Ryan. Your guides are saying they can help you, and probably you could get the victory, but that strength and weakness thing there, in the sense there's good news, but the bad news is good, but it's overshadowing it. It's good in the sense the victory that you could get is an actual problem because you're not facing up to it. And this is it sort of saying, face up to it, face up to the problem. Cast judgment on it from a negative angle in the sense of face up to the problem. I suppose if it was positive, the other way around, you'd be sort of saying, sort of try and get revival, try and revive it. But maybe there's nothing to revive, maybe there's nothing lost yet. Maybe the victory is hard to get. Maybe the obstacle or the weakness is the victory that's hard to get. It's hard to get because you're eluding each other. You're not talking to one another. You're keeping a low profile. Whereas if you did talk, that weakness would become a strength and would sort of work in tandem with that, wouldn't it? They'd be both together in sort of like connected to one another. And they'd blend in, they'd meld together, wouldn't they? And this is the sort of thing I'm getting from this. Actually, this is a very interesting spread that you've given, really. I suppose this bit of feedback, or whatever you want to call it. This, I suppose you're giving something back. I don't know what it is, but certainly it's. I'm going to try and memorise this one, and if I do relationship readings in the future here, Ryan, I'll certainly try and use it with other folks. I don't know about the inverted cards. I don't use inverted cards, but certainly you can read them as inverted. I don't know, because there's enough with the right, some cards that the right way up can be read inverted anyway, can't they? You can see both sides of it. With that, say for the Ace of Cups, for example, the connection between you, feelings lost, no ecstasy, no rapture, no feelings, whatever. Whereas if we just read it in both ways, well, no feelings lost, but the ecstasy is there potentially to be had. She feels as if there's a partnership there potentially to be had, if only you could overcome the diversity over, not the diversity, the adversity, triumph over adversity. But you don't talk. The strength is you don't talk. You're avoiding one another, and it means you can't get the victory that you want for this. And if that weren't inverted, then of course the outcome is you just have to become more awakened, more, you'd have to literally metamorphose, you'd have to change. Yes, okay, I'll have to change my ways. She'll have to say, okay, I'll try and change my ways. But don't say I'll try, just say I'll do. If you say I'll try, you're sort of putting an element of doubt there, aren't you? Well, I'll try. Can't promise you anything though, but I'll try. You know, I've been bad-mouthed over this when I say about this, but you got to say, I'm not going to try, I'm going to do it. So if we put all the cards the right way up, just for the sake of argument, and we read them as I would read them, because I don't read inverted cards anyway, there's no point in it really, we can see the positive and negative in everything. You can see the yin and the yang in everything. For as much as you see this as riding out the storm, that is self-explanatory in the meaning of that card. From a positive point of view, you're seeking positive progress, you're sort of riding it out for a positive end. Of course, if it's inverted, you're riding it out with the expectation of it going wrong or something like that, but that's always at the back of your mind anyway. If I read it how I read it, well, like I say, read it with all the cards the right road up here. Her approach towards you is okay. The love is there. She feels there is a partnership there, potentially there, and the connection between you. There is ecstasy, and there is a sort of thing going on. There is something going on. But the sort of negative side of that is that there could be love lost if your question was, oh, my relationship's all buggered up and I don't know what to do, I don't know what's happening to it, then of course you would automatically read the connection as that, wouldn't you? The connection is inverted, even if it was, the card wasn't. You'd have to read it as inverted, wouldn't you? You'd have to assume it inverted because there's a problem. You'd have to assume that if she's focusing on pure love, the Lord of love, then there are feelings lost there. But I don't know actually, Ryan. I think I'm going to follow your rules here, given the fact that it's the game that you're playing there. I am going to read the cards inverted, although I don't like doing it. I think for this, because I'll never get inverted cards, because I leave all the cards the right way up anyway. I don't deliberately you know, cut the deck and say rotate the top and, you know, whatever. I don't do that sort of thing. But of course we'll keep it as it is, and I hope that this is sort of helped in some way for you there. I'll try and remember it at my end, because I'm going to try and use it in some way, shape or form for future readings for others as well. So this is like your donation to the group, isn't it, really? So thank you it's me, thank you really, thanks for this, Ryan. Thanks for your input, as you would say. Thanks for your input, and of course let's hope that you do go to the dark places and you do face up to your fears. And you do enter into the darkness without fear. And maybe Crow here, because we're using the Crow's Magic Tarot by Alonda Marks, maybe the spirit of Crow here, Crow is king, and maybe he will help you out of the darkness into the light by helping you recognise the light, recognise the darkness, understand it, help you navigate through it so you know what it is, and once you know what the darkness is, you'll recognise the light even more, won't you? Because how do you know what light is if you don't know what darkness is, and vice versa? And this is the problem, you've got to know what the darkness is between you, because you're riding it out like a storm, hoping the clouds will pass, when it could be night time all along and not black clouds overhead. If you get what I mean. Anyway, we've tried to give as many examples as possible. I hope you've got something from it. Again, thank you for your input, but for now, just for now, Ryan, these cards have spoken.